What's more valuable, $500,000 in cash or a meal seasoned with the wisdom of a luminary? This is the tantalizing question that sparked the birth of a groundbreaking show, Lunch with the Luminary.
Thank you so much for joining this episode of Lunch with a Luminary. Christan Willis is an Atlanta-based personal chef and a TV personality. She's got global reach, and you may have seen her in a few appearances. She's done the Food Network's Cooks vs. Cons and Netflix's Pressure Cooker. She operates Christan Willis LLC as an in-home private chef service. And I might leverage her services because she's really good at what she does. Whether she's providing the culinary delights for at-home dinner party or leading a private cooking class, Christan is making her mark in a male-dominated food industry. But today, we're gonna talk about her nuggets of wisdom that she has learned along the way.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining, Christan.
Thank you for that. That was amazing.
Absolutely. We're lucky to have you.
Oh, no, this is such an honor to be here, just to share my story, to get to know you. I'm super excited.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So now, did you start like we all started, where you had like the little kitchen that you got at 3 years old?
That's actually so funny. My mom will always remind me about like my little easy bake oven.
I loved the easy bake oven.
And that was, I don't know what I was doing with that thing.
I was not sharing with it, basically.
I know.
It was so little.
It was like a little brownie packet and a little light bulb.
Exactly, but it got the job done.
It sure did.
Okay, so mom started you out. I'll give mom credit.
My mom, wow, interesting enough, my mom is one of those home cooks that's like, I can make this in 10 minutes, so get out the kitchen.
Oh, wow.
So she's like, and she likes to rush everything. So I remember being so like, and just interested by like kitchen, like the food. I wanted to like stir.
Yeah.
And she would always tell me no. She's like, no, get out of here. Or she'll be like, sit on the ground and just pretend you're stirring or cooking.
My mother leaves ingredients out.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, teach me how to make your thing. And every time she shows me, she'll leave out an ingredient.
Oh, okay.
Maybe you're teaching us something in another way. I don't know.
Maybe. And you're like, what's up with that? And I think it's because my mom said no so much. I was like so rebellious as a kid. I was like, I'm gonna do it anyway.
Okay, so then I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna say, get bad grades. Just get bad grades.
Get bad grades.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe they'll
don't take my advice.
Maybe they'll do the opposite.
Maybe. Oh gosh, no, we don't want that. And so like literally my parents would go like to work, and so I would come home from school, and I was like so young, I couldn't even like reach the countertops.
That's funny.
So I'd take my little stool and I would like prop myself up, reach the cereal.
How old are you?
I think I was like probably 5.
Wow.
5, going into 6
Making
or something
quiche?
like that. It was grilled cheese in a toaster.
Close enough.
And that was like so funny because like I would do these different like grilled cheese combinations, and I would give it to my dad and be like, okay, so is that good? Is that good? Do you like that?
That's hilarious.
And I would put pickles on it, just random stuff, just to see what he would say.
Right.
And he would always say it was good. So I was like, I'm doing something.
That's awesome. So how did you go from, hey, this is fun, I'm really good at it, to actually knowing
that I
it was,
wanted to do it?
Or did you? Maybe you did something else?
Honestly, I never wanted to cook. I just loved to do it for myself, and I was always so hungry, and being an athlete, you know, like we're just constantly eating. So I was just like that as a kid. And then, so I worked in restaurants with my dad at 15, and that was just for a quick paycheck. You know, he brought me in, he was like, Christan, she could be a great hostess. She's great with people. You know, she could just, just work her way around. And he didn't know what he was doing was like laying a foundation, because I ended up really, really enjoying it, not knowing that's what the path was going to be. Because I was studying journalism.
That's why people need two parents. So mom is telling you get out of the kitchen.
And
Dad
dad's
is telling you
embracing.
come into the kitchen. And now we have the wonderful Chef Christan that we have.
Hello, blossomed. Yeah, so it was very interesting. So I was always just doing that on the side, but I was completely locked into journalism. Like I thought that was really going to be my lane.
Okay.
And then
now,
it wasn't.
Prints.
Broadcast and print.
Okay.
So I was my college editor for my school paper. And I started writing about food in the lifestyle section. And I was like, oh, I kind of really like this, because I know so much already. Yeah. And then I kind of was just like, I'm at a fork in the road. I'm like, what do I do? Do I really pursue this? And there was a moment where it wasn't challenging enough. It was, anytime it's like autopilot, you're just like going through the motions, and I recognize that in college. Yeah. So I pivot.
I always say that if you have multiple interests and you reach a fork in the road and you ask yourself which one, do both.
Do both.
So the funny thing is your career trajectory sounds very similar because I studied journalism.
Did you?
Before, yeah, broadcast journalism before going into business.
Okay.
My career ended up being in business, but here we are sitting at the table talking
honestly,
about lunch with the Luminary.
I think everyone should go into business. Everyone should at least have that, because I wish I had that.
Really?
Yes.
Now, why? What was it that in your journey that made you feel like I should have kind of
honestly, like the moment when I started my business, I'll just fast forward a little bit, I didn't know what to do. You know, and I feel like if I would have had a little bit of a business like background or education about it, like how to, you know, just really market myself, get the ball rolling, like on the back end of things, I think I would have been on a different playing field. But I was so opposite. I was like, I never want to own my own business.
Really?
I never wanted to do it. And I'm finding myself in this lane. And it's so natural though. So I don't feel like I'm working hard to like chip at it.
So what, talk to us about how you went from, you know, dabbling in culinary, having full-time jobs to actually saying,
yes,
I want to be an entrepreneur.
Okay. So college, right? So I decided to go to culinary school. Super young. I'm like 21, 22. And I'm just like, all right, we're going to just do this. Because I was already working in restaurants, the curriculum that I was given was, okay, I already know a little bit. Right. You guys are just going to teach me like the French technique and like obviously the educational standpoint on it, and then give me some skills that I didn't have in the kitchen already. And breeze through that, love it. And I'm just like having so much fun. I go to Disney for my externship. So you can either work in restaurants, but Disney was the one that was actually paying because they don't pay college kids to do an internship or externship. Okay. So because I was already working in restaurants, I took a pay cut to work for Disney. And that was a very interesting experience because I walked in and it's a resort. So I've never done high volume. I've done restaurants where we do like 200 covers, but nothing like 1,400 people for lunch.
Right. But what type of cuisine? Because when I think Disney and our family vacations, I think
service.
Burgers, fries. Okay.
And then so they have the restaurants. So there's this one called the Polynesian Resort and then the Grand Floridian Resort.
Right.
And so walking into there, they just threw me in the bottom of the bottom. I had a prep shift at 4 a.m. And I was like, okay, well, if this is all they're going to give me, I'm going to do this for a little bit.
So that's like cut up all the tomatoes.
Cut the fruit.
Okay, that's what I give my kids to do.
Yeah,
Okay.
All the basics. Go in the dish pit. So they really
Your mother prepared you for this.
She was probably like, okay, you're going to regret it at some point. But I ended up working my way around because I said, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it 110%. So not only am I going to work in one restaurant, I'm going to work in all of the restaurants at the Polynesian Resort. Okay. Yes. So
I want to hear how you did this.
Absolutely. So I just go to chef. I'm like, okay, prep shift. I did it for like, I don't know, 3 weeks. So I was like, okay, what else is there? He's okay. You want to work breakfast? I was like, yeah. Mickey waffles. I am like Mickey waffles, one station, flipping, serving them. And that was like, it was such a fast-paced thing. I've never done that before, and I was so tired of it. I was like, this is hard. This is really hard.
That's a lot of waffles.
You're a machine. Like, you don't even think. You're just going through the motions. Right. So I did that, and I'm like, okay, what's dinner service like? I do dinner service. We're doing 1,700 covers for dinner. So on the hot piping grill, I'm working different stations, saute, and they have like this big wok station. So I'm learning like different cuisines as I'm doing it. So I do that for a little bit.
Because Disney entertains international visitors, so you're learning all types.
Yeah, all types of food. Yes, and each resort is catered to a different type of like theme.
Palette,
almost.
right.
Yeah. Then I was like, Grand Floridian, what's that about? So there's this one restaurant called Citricos, and that's like more contemporary. I was like, I like that. That's the lane that I want to be in. Okay. So that's when I was like, okay, if I can do that. There's another one called Victoria and Albert's, and they only serve 70 people. So that's very coveted in Disney in Orlando to get that reservation. So they are garnishing, they are oiling, salting every little like finite tweezer thing. And I was like, I like that.
And so that's where you learned plating?
Learn plating, just learn about different types of food. Like Wagyu was very popular at that time. So I said to myself, well, if I can do Disney and I can come back to Atlanta, I can work at any restaurant because that was insane. It was intense and it was hard. Yeah. But also I could have said, I did it and I don't like it. So I decided, I was like, well, I kind of don't really have a choice anymore. I'm already loving it so much. So jump back into restaurants. A restaurateur, his name is Ford Fry. Reached out to him and I was like, super green, I just want to cook. Where can you place me? So he places me into St. Cecilia and I work saute. Yeah. And saute, you have to be fast, quick on your feet. And I was like, oh, I'm a big shot. Like, I'm coming in here, you know, like, I don't feel intimidated. But I honestly, I learned so much because it wasn't what I thought it was. Just because I felt like I had experience, I had no idea.
What a lesson. So what did that tell you about yourself?
Humble myself. Humble myself, because so many times when we're young, we think we know it all. And, you know, that happened to me. And what I really learned was to slow down and to learn from other people. What skills can I take? So I was already kind of in that mindset, but really kind of like, okay, well, I don't know how to make pasta the way you make pasta. Teach me. Right. Teach me the recipe. So it was good. It was good. It was a lot of back and forth, drama. You know, you just get all the toxic environment feels. Right. But I would say, like, it's not for the weak. And there aren't a lot of women back then. Now there are. Right. But back then it was tough. It was very tough to get placed. Yes.
Yeah. And it's interesting how industries morph as far as representation, because, you know, historically thinking the woman belongs in the kitchen and the female should be cooking. Right. And I'm just saying, if you look along the historical lineage, and then the industry, once it becomes monetized and becomes, all of a sudden becomes male dominated. It's just
it's crazy how that situation flipped, because really women are better at multitasking than men.
I mean, I would have to agree with that.
You do?
110%. I just want to know how you stay such a beautiful, fit chef. You're making all these amazing meals. Yes. What's your workout regimen? How do you balance it? Don't tell me it's natural. I don't want to hear that.
It's genetics.
I want to hear work. I want to hear work.
No, seriously. I remember my first day at culinary school, they're giving us our like aprons and our like all of our chef stuff, and I was like, hey, do you have like an extra small? She's like, no, but you'll grow into this medium. And I looked at her, I was like, oh, no, you don't know me.
That's what I would have said, yes, I will. I'll take it. No, I'm kidding.
I was like, nah. I already knew at that age. I was like, nah, I'm not. I'm just going to work out. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I love to eat. But I've always worked out, like, in sports, cheerleading, like, for my entire life. So
now there's some lady somewhere taking credit. Like, it's because I said that purposely. So she's
like,
Stay on target.
No, she's like, here, take this.
Pretty much. So I still want to know, because this is great, like how you've gone along this journey. When was it, or what was it that, you know, helped you say, you said you didn't have the business background.
Did not.
So what was it that kind of flipped that switch to say, I need to do this by myself?
Honestly, so after I decided, okay, restaurants, I wasn't going to move up as fast as I wanted to. So I reached out to a personal chef service, and I told them, like, I have restaurant background, but I don't have like residential private chef background. I would love to kind of jump onto your team.
Lifelong learner you are.
Yes. Okay. And so they hired me. And when I say like the doors open for like creativity, because it's my menu, it's my show, and I get to greet people in their own homes and create these beautiful dinner parties, I was like, this is my lane. I love this. So I learned so much from them, and what I noticed from her business style with her team of her people, they were taking credit for a lot of my work. So like, she's like, hey, Christan, every time you cook for a family, make sure you take pictures and videos and send it to me. And I was like, okay, sure. All the chefs are doing it, so I'm doing it too. Right. And then it was like, my clients would always talk to me like, hush hush about like prices and stuff like that. I'm like overhearing things. I'm like, wow, you guys pay a lot, but I'm only getting paid hourly. And I started doing the math, and I was like, she's making so much money off me, and I'm doing receipts, grocery shopping, everything, and just submitting. So I was like, oh, so this is her formula. And I remember just, hey, you know, I would like to take 2 weeks. You know, me and my ex at the time were going to go do a bride's magazine shoot. Okay. And I worked so much for her. She said, no, we don't have anybody to cover you. And I was like, wow, I'm putting this in 3 months in advance.
Wait, you gave a PTO request 3 months in advance?
Yes, and it was shot down.
And now I just have to, on behalf of employers, was it a designated busy period?
I think it was like during the summer. So in restaurants and food, like summer is very chill. Okay. And plus we're not really in the restaurant.
Okay. So there was nothing, no holidays. There was nothing that was apparent as a reason for denying the request.
So I wasn't sure if it was just because she didn't have another chef to replace me.
3 months ahead of time?
Something was weird. And, you know, I just got on the phone one day and I was like, you know what? I've never said this. And I was like, I quit. And she's like, well, you better not file unemployment. I was like, don't worry, I won't. Wow. I'm going to do something better than that. Wow. I will do something better than that. Yeah. But it was very interesting because it literally like put me into like a door where I was just like, okay, I'm stuck. Like, what do I do? So it's not like I was forced to quit, but it was just like my natural reaction.
It was a catalyst.
Yes.
It was the last oomph that you needed to make a decision that you were probably contemplating for a while. So what did that, I just want to pause on that because I think there's a lesson in that too.
Yeah.
What did that teach you as a leader yourself of other employees or team members?
You know, to know your value, to know your worth. And I'm big on partnerships with people and understanding their strengths, what they do really well to work with me, to aid me. But I would never hold anyone like hostage in that way or just have so much control over an employee. So I feel like that's what I took from it because you really want your employees to blossom because that's how you have retention with your employees.
Absolutely. And I talk to my team members even when I'm screening for hiring and I say, look, our business is to grow and scale businesses.
Yeah.
And very often the people who do well are the ones who are entrepreneurial. Like they have that spark. Yes. The only thing I ask is that while you're an employee, that you're committed, that you're focused. And if at any point you've decided, you know, I think I want to go out on my own, just be upfront with me and we'll work on the transition plan. I want you to be another success story. I'll support you. So I think it's a lot around just the communication and transparency because nobody wants to feel like you're stealing from them time-wise or effort-wise.
Exactly.
So I love that's something you're infusing.
And I never, like, I didn't grow up that way. So like I said, being a rebel in the kitchen and, you know, even in my family.
A rebel in the kitchen.
That's
like its own little moniker.
I know. Should that be a series? A rebel in the kitchen.
I know. Let's write that down.
Yeah. Okay. So I have always like created my own lane. So the moment where you're just like, you're not going to let me flourish, let me go over here. So that's just kind of how I did it. But I really had to learn the business just by observing.
Okay. Observe. Okay. So you, again, I mentioned that earlier, you impressed me as a lifelong learner. Like every situation that you've put yourself in, you figured out, what am I going to learn from this? And how do I maximize the learning that I get from this? I love that. Even when you were at Disney, right?
At Disney.
You created your own rotational program.
I sure did. You know, and they would see me one day and I'm off to the other day. It was very interesting. And like, I'm away from my family, away from my friends, meeting all these new people. But I mean, when you're just like a sponge and you're just in an environment, like I've just learned to like, okay, this is what I have. How can I make the best out of it? You know, because I really want to take something with me.
So how did you transition to becoming this amazing, you know, private chef, you know, in your own right, and then being the superstar in, you know, public media with the competitions? How did that happen?
So that was really cool because I was so used to just cooking for families. And I was like, wow, this is really great. And I obviously grew up watching Food Network, but never really thought that was like something I wanted to do. But posting on social media, this is the power of that. And back then it was like 2017, I'm hot. Like there aren't a lot of private chefs in Atlanta. Personal chefs, caterers, yes, but private chefs that work with families for like 4 or 5 years.
You were ahead of your time.
Ahead of my time. That you are. Ahead of my time. But I was really enjoying it. So I'm posting so much food and people are hiring me. Like I said, never had to really market it like, hey, accepting new clients. It was really, I'd let my work speak for itself.
Now, I will tell you, there will be a lot of jealous viewers hearing that out of your mouth. Because, no, it's one of the top things that I hear entrepreneurs say. They say, you know, I've got a great product, I've got a great service, I just need a celebrity endorser, or I just need to find a way to get the word out. But you're saying word of mouth was
word of mouth, yes.
Excellent.
And I believe you asked me a question yesterday about how do I scale my business, and it was really my network. So the network helped me obviously meet and greet different people, but also gave me a chance and an outlet to kind of talk about my business, show my business. Okay, boom, I have a referral for you, and that's still happening to this day.
So you have never said, hey, slots available.
Never.
Let me know.
Never. And I think what people are seeing are these great dinner parties, you know, that I'm putting on, or even if it is TV. Okay, this is another opportunity, but everything is centered around food. But I did get to a point where that was fun, and then social media started taking off, and then casting producers would, you know, kind of scout on social media.
Right.
So that's how I got picked up.
Okay, and what was the first competition?
The first competition was Cooks versus Cons. Okay. I was so ready for this. They flew me out to Jersey, and I remember being like so nervous because I was like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna make? I'm not really sure. Are they gonna like this? And also like the way I cook, I just infuse different like cultures. So
Right.
not only is it Mediterranean, it could have like a little bit of Asian spice into it.
So a little tzatziki with a little Asian
So I
thing.
wasn't sure if they were going to really like me because I
Right.
didn't have like, oh, Chef Christan, she's a Southern style chef. Like I
Right.
didn't walk in like that.
Right.
I walked in like, no, this is my food on the plate. And my judges were, Alex Scornacelli, Jet Tila, and I forgot the third one. And I made this beautiful pork chop, amazing like mango chutney. I remember kind of hearing some backlash about it, but I was like, no, this is about to be fire because I know this is good. I made this before. They ended up picking a apple pot pie with a apple salad for the winner. And I was like, you got to be kidding me, because I know I came with bold flavors.
I came with the mango chutney.
Came with
and
the
they
mango
didn't get
chutney,
it. Okay.
and I was like, okay, there's a lot to this producing that
Right.
I didn't know.
Now,
And,
what did you learn? What did you not take into consideration that you know now?
So TV, it's all about marketing and who they think would represent a win. Even though you can, obviously, like it's unscripted, so anything can happen. Like cards are on the table.
Right.
But sometimes for shows, what I'm noticing is producers have an idea of who they want to win. You just have to execute it. So if you don't execute it, anything can happen. Somebody else could take your spot.
Right.
So not to say that I was meant to win that one, maybe I wasn't, but it was just such a learning curve because it was like 30 minutes on the clock, ready to
Right.
go.
Right.
I'm running. I'm cooking so fast, probably the fastest I've ever cooked.
I'm team mom. I'm going back to your mother's lessons where you were like, her thing was that she just wanted to get it done and get it done fast.
done.
She infused that, even though you had to sit down and you weren't able to touch
I was
anything.
like, sprint, almost fell.
I love it.
Yeah, but I mean, it really was like, that was the stepping stone for me.
Okay.
That was. And then it was like addictive. I was like, I want to do another one.
So you sought out the next one.
No, still,
Okay.
I went back to cooking. I'm doing my dinner parties, traveling. Casting producer reaches out again. So now I'm doing auditions.
And now you're in the circuit.
in the circuit,
Okay.
just doing like casting audition tapes. It might not work out for me, or I might get to like the third round and they're like, oh, pick somebody else next time. We'll keep you in mind. But the ones that hit, I'm like, okay, here's another opportunity.
So what was the next one?
So the next one actually was the Today Show.
Oh.
It wasn't a competition. It was the Today Show. So,
That's a biggie.
so I go on the Today Show. It's like 2019. We're doing football food. Carson Daly is on like live with me, and we're doing football food. He's like, all right. The producer is like, okay, Christan, people don't really make it. You got like 3 minutes to go through your whole recipe. So food's lined up. I'm like,
Is that
okay.
when like you have all the things and then all of a sudden you come out with
Yeah. TV magic, yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, it makes for great TV because you just keep going.
Right.
So I remember doing like 2 different really cool things, like tachos, and then I made this I think it was like brisket tacos or something. Carson Daly's drinking a beer. Like I'm having so much fun on camera.
Yes.
I literally ran through in 3 minutes, finished my whole segment. I was like, oh, I'm made for this. I could do this.
So now I'm going to go to the business side of that. So I have a lot of folks in the community, Business Boost Society.
Yes.
They'll say, I just need a big hit, like a national show. So you had a good time.
Had a great time.
Obviously, that's a great platform and brand builder.
Yeah.
What was the other value from being on the Today Show?
I mean, so my net worth just expanded, right? Because that's national. So many people I could reach, but you're only hot for 10 seconds of fame, so what do? You pivot off that. You're like, okay.
How'd you pivot? How'd you make it work for you?
I was ready. So not only did I have social media content ready to push on that same day, and I kept it going, but I leveraged that video that I have and I sent it to other people.
Got it.
Yes.
So that became part of your resume. And then you did see an immediate uptick in visits from being on the show.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, unfortunately, COVID happened the next year.
Right.
But I remember January, I was on Hallmark, A Home and Family, did this really wholesome cooking demo, and I gave it homage to my mom and her favorite thing she loves to make, which is shepherd's pie. So I remember doing that in January. In February, March, it was just shut down.
Yeah.
So when that shut down, the TV stuff stopped, obviously, but also my business stopped. So I was like, wow,
But why? We were all home eating shepherd's pie, and I was ordering these lobster things, everything I saw on TV. I was like, guys, we're gonna have a crab boil. I put paper all on the dining table.
People were getting creative.
We got tired of the PB&J.
I know, right? And you're like, tired of cooking, so what else can I order?
Exactly.
Yeah, but I remember that time, my clients that I did have, they were super fearful, and they're like, don't even leave food at the door.
Oh, right,
like,
your home business.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So I was like, oh, okay, so we're gonna just put a pause on this.
Right.
So took a little break, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
We all did.
Yeah, we all did. We all did. But a lot of, not to say either you blossomed in that time of solitude and have a lot of time in your hands to recreate, rebrand, or a lot of people say, hey, I'm out. A lot of my restaurant friends never went back to cooking.
Yeah, I've seen that.
They're working for corporate. I was like, well, it sucks, but I'm still going to stand on what I have right now. And thankfully, I had the foundation.
And you persevered.
Sure did.
And so you have been doing amazing things in the area of sponsorship. And I know that there are a lot of entrepreneurs interested in making that pivot. You're like a pivot queen.
Yes.
So talk to us about your first sponsorship and how that even panned out.
Absolutely. It actually happened during the pandemic. So social media, right? That's the only thing we really had. So I was like, well, I guess I can make money on social media now. So there was a brand, Patagonia, and it was a cerveza company. So they're like, what can you make with our beer? And I was like, oh, easy. I can cook with beer. So I literally started making content. And
Did you make crab? It's the only thing I know how to make with beer.
I think I made this like beer cheese sauce to go with like this grilled like
Where
sausage.
do you come up with this? You were putting pickles in.
It's just all in here. You know what I mean? It's
Yes.
like when you walk up to a trainer and they're like, do this, do that. And you're like, how do you know?
Right. Okay.
They can
that's
just
good.
come up on the fly. So that was my first opportunity, like really diving into social media content creation and videos. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. Like people are liking this.
Paying
We can do
attention.
this. We
Yeah.
can actually monetize on this.
Love
Okay,
it.
great. So that's also before like brand deals were starting getting popular or at the rise of them. So that was really cool.
So you were at the beginning. Now, did that represent, because one of the things with scaling is doing more with less.
Yes.
And, getting to the point where, yes, your business is growing, you've got the growth, but really scaling allows you to separate yourself from the business,
Sure
right?
does.
Ask yourself questions on who your leadership team should consist of and, how does the business operate without you? With what you do, it's very personalized. Personal is in the name.
Listen, and there are so many times where I've had chefs walk into my client's house and I'm like, okay, cool, let's give this a shot because I need to do other things. And it's very interesting when I hear my clients' feedback. They're like, yeah, but they're not you.
You're not Christian. Exactly.
They don't cook like you. Or they're not personable. They're not friendly. They're a little too quiet. And I'm like, okay. So now I'm starting to realize I'm like really like one of one. And it's hard because like, yes, I can scale, I can grow, but what does that do to my name, right? The representation of my name. Like, I don't want to tarnish it.
But you don't have a cloning machine.
Exactly. And I'm like, I wish I did because I would love to have a very successful team behind me that can cook and like really like put on these amazing elaborate events. But I had to really pick and choose. I could go that route, and I just like deal with a little bit more headaches and stuff like that and managing people, or I could just keep it, in my lane.
So you revisited your business model.
Yes.
To extend beyond the personal chef offering to doing other things in the culinary space is what I'm hearing. Okay.
Yes.
So that's your personal, brands, your brand as an individual. Talk to me a little bit about like what the next phase or what that next phase looks like.
So that next phase, obviously, I'm almost looking at this dish right here. Like this is food, right? And these are all my ventures, just kind of
just in case people didn't, it's definitely real
it's
food.
Real food,
these
guys.
are not props. We're smelling this. I'm just saying.
It's beautiful. But I feel like that's been my whole life. So I want to always keep that as my core value. So whatever I do, philanthropy work, obviously cooking demos, everything is still centered around food.
Okay.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. So I want to go back to this brand deal sponsorship piece.
Okay.
Share some insight. So for folks that are listening that are saying, my product, my service, what I do, I've been really investing in my social media platform. Right. How do I, if I'm not just waiting for someone to notice me, how do I get more deliberate? Because you got deliberate around it.
Yeah. No, this game is like hard. Okay. When I say you were doing cold calls, like that's what I'm saying. I wish I would have learned business like from that standpoint because you are really advocating for yourself. Cold calls, okay, I'm even on LinkedIn. Who's the marketing manager? manager. I'm doing my research.
Okay, so start from scratch.
Yes.
We want to do a brand deal for your chef service. You've already done Patagonia.
Yes.
Where did you start?
Absolutely. So, I mean, obviously that one came to me, but the ones that I have a whole wish list, and I would say this for everybody.
Make a wish list.
If you think about the brands that you're already utilizing as yourself, right? Think about hair, makeup, skin, clothing, even just from activities, things that you like to do. That is your perfect wish list. Because
Starbucks should come through.
Yes. Starbucks, sign her. Yes. And I mean, because it's so personal and you already are passionate about that and you love the quality of whatever the brand vision that they have. So it just makes great synergy. And so I try to always stay in that lane. From products in the kitchen, I'm like, I really love this olive oil. I'm using it a lot. Okay, who's the marketing manager that I can reach out to? Let me go ahead and shoot some content and show them that I'm really interested.
So you're proactive.
Yes.
You basically give them a teaser and a taste.
Yes, this is what it could look like.
Okay.
Absolutely. And then it's a waiting game. And it's a lot of no's, and a lot of like people ignoring you. But the more you stay at it and you're consistent, people will literally circle back.
Now, was there a threshold for your followership before you even became like irrelevant for them to even pay attention to? Do you feel like
I would say doing obviously the demos and the cooking and the appearances have boosted that. So now I think brands are a little bit more aware. I don't have a blue check, you know? I'm still waiting on that.
Why? You can pay for that.
Honestly. But I kind of was
Why don't you?
I kind of was like, you know what? I just want it to be organic. Like when it happens, even though I feel
now
like...
that they've monetized it, it will not be
and
organic.
now they're like, okay, pay, what is it? Like, I think there's like a top tier of like 130 you can pay
what is
now.
it? Blue or bluest?
Like, stop it. Okay. It's so silly. That's where I'm like, okay, cut it out. But I will say the more open you are and the more you are putting yourself out there, people would recognize you. Right. So that's why I do the food festivals. That's why I try to just stay relevant and in my community as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So what is your recommendation around the frequency that our business owners should post?
Oh, posting on content? I need to take my own advice. Okay, well, I will say this, like, if you're not loving it, and I know people can auto post, but if you're not loving it, people can feel that. Have you ever like seen a video?
I know that.
And you're like, people are just putting this out there just to kind of get it done. But if you have to tell a story.
Right.
And that's also something I'm learning too. So, I mean, at least 2 reels. Few carousels a week. I mean, I need to really take my advice on this one. Like at least 4 times.
I get it. I'm like a start and stop.
Yeah,
like really, really, really excited and then nothing.
No, same. I take personal breaks too. Right. But what I do know is like through my stories, like I still like to keep people engaged. I'm at the gym. I'm at the track today. I'm traveling. Hey, I'm just relaxing or I'm cooking.
Right.
So I try to keep my followers still like, they still know what I'm doing.
Right.
Yeah.
I like your balance between cooking and working out.
Yeah.
Again, on theme.
Yeah.
So that works out. So what is next for Christan?
Yes. I mean, honestly, my story and just like perseverance, not giving up, also having resiliency,
100%.
And I think it's also like something like I'm never really satisfied, but I am very, very happy that I stuck with, my passion and what my love is.
That's that entrepreneurial bug. Yes. I just tell people it's just this urgency and this push that you can't move it. It's just there and you just have to live it. And
I talk to some of my friends and I'm like, you should do this, you should do that. And then they don't really do it. I'm like, oh, okay. We just think differently.
If there's one thing that I have learned, I could talk to someone and then in my head I'm like, and I think of all these different ideas. If they don't have the oomph, if they don't have that entrepreneurial,
they don't see it.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, you have to actually like be a visionary to be an entrepreneur as well.
And you have to have enough energy and passion behind it to execute. Yes. Because there are a lot of visionaries and it stays on a piece of paper or in their heads.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. So. I mean, I'm a firm believer. If it's here, it's on my phone, then I'm writing it down. Like I'm old school with it.
And then I backwards plan into a plan. If I want it done on this date, what do I have to do? Yeah. So we are kindred spirits.
And then I'm also like a checklist person. So I'm like, okay, I didn't do that last year, but this year we're gonna work on it.
So for years, do you do vision boards?
Not really.
Okay, so you should do vision boards. So you do it with the checklist, but I like to put the visual. So I used to put vision boards together, and I would be disappointed if at the end of the calendar year I didn't meet it. But then I would save the vision boards.
See?
So then I went backwards, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that house that I put 3 years ago, I have now. It wasn't on last year. So sometimes I always say it's not always in our time, it's in God's time, and He's on a different time schedule,
Exactly.
So you never know.
And that's beautiful about timing. And, God could also be like, okay, but you need to put your plan into action. So for me to know that, like, if I'm constantly working on it, it might not happen now, but it might happen, you know?
Yeah.
Or it might happen in a way that it was so unexpected that I didn't realize.
Right. Or bigger than you thought.
Bigger than I thought.
Like Chopped.
Yeah. Like Chopped Champion.
So
yes.
What's the next big thing that you are working on now?
So right now, working on a lot of content. So I cook for, some really great clients under the brand Peloton. And we are working on content series, but also—
Are they eating on their bikes?
No.
I've eaten on my bike, just for the record.
Shout out.
I've also used it as a coat rack, but I still love Peloton.
No, but it's really great because I'm like, my client Alex, like, I see him speak life into, like, when he's on camera, even just like the people that post about him. And I'm like, wow, I'm
really?
actually—
So did you just do that to me? Did you just— So Alex, I was working with Alex, like the Alex, like Peloton Alex. Oh my gosh. Okay.
And so it's wild to kind of see this full circle because I'm like, I'm actually fueling his body so he could be great. But in return, I'm being great as well. So it's like really, really cool to see that.
I'm hearing like Lion King, Circle of Life.
No, seriously. So really just, I think, elevating my brand just to another level is this year. Cookbook in the works.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, you have to come back with the cookbook.
Yes. Cookbook
Actually, we have to do that one in the kitchen.
Okay.
We can do it on
I
my
would
kitchen.
love that.
I have a really nice kitchen that I don't use.
Oh, come on. We'll bring the camera set up and
Exactly.
everything.
We'll
The
do the whole
lights. That'll be
thing.
beautiful.
Yes, 100%.
But still continue on with like the brands and the endorsements that I really would like to obtain.
I love that.
Next big goal. I will speak it. I would love to host my own show. So constantly working on hosting and working on my voice and, just my storyline.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that despite the fact that you have gotten to such levels of success, you are constantly honing your craft and challenging yourself to do something different. That is a really common thread with the Luminary conversations.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's tough because like, even like, just understanding the word luminary, I'm just like, how did I get here? Like, how did I get here? But it just goes to show, like, I would love to be, always advocating for other women just to kind of like, if I didn't have it trailblaze for me, let me trailblaze this for you. And hopefully you can take some of my skills and my knowledge and just, I think it's a beautiful thing, community, and just building each other up because I don't see that. And I didn't have that, and I wish I did.
See, so you have to join Business Boost Society, the community, because you get all of that, and you'll see it.
Business Boost Society, yes.
I ask everyone this question. So in the book, Give Me a Boost, we talk about revenue diversification, so that the COVID-type situations, pandemics, disruption, you're ready, right?
Yeah.
And so when you're wholly dependent on one type of revenue, it's a risk for your business. So I talk about the 4 C's. So I'm going to go through each of those 4 C's, and you tell me if that's part of where you get your revenue. Okay. So the first one is easy: individual customers.
Yes.
Okay. The second one is corporations.
Ooh, yes.
Okay, you have corporate clients, obviously, with the sponsorships. The third area is collaborations and alliances.
Sometimes.
Or channel partners.
I want to say sometimes because everyone can't make money together, but you have to be so aligned to say, let's tackle this, this job together. Yes. So I would say yes and no.
Okay, so a little bit, but you could do more.
Right, I could do more. I would love to do more collaborations, but also, when it comes to just like building each other up and like, hey, let's tackle this together, I would love to.
I love that. Yeah. And then the last one, contracts, as in government contracts.
Ooh. Government contracts, not too much government, but when I think about like food scarcity and when I think about how the food that I ate growing up in like, public schools, there is a lane for that I would love to have a great government contract with.
So we need to talk about food deserts and access to food equity and things of the like.
Especially in the South.
Good. 100%. There's a huge need. And as an Atlanta-based entrepreneur, there's even more opportunity for us to manage that and take advantage of that. Good.
Absolutely. Yes.
So we can dig in.
Okay.
Let's dig in and eat. And usually what I do is I take advantage of the fact that you're eating.
Oh,
and so
I love.
I think my birthday's next week.
Oh my gosh.
And so I'm thinking you should come over.
Okay.
We can hang out, you can cook, and we could just have a good time.
I would love to do that. Do you want to like invite some girlfriends or?
Invite some girlfriends. But mainly I just want food and I want leftovers.
Yes.
So we can work on that.
What goes great with food? Drinks.